Halloween
Forever.
Good evening, Stephen.
Hello, Brian.
Hey, yeah, we were just talking. My kids had my headphones. I couldn't find them. Found them. We're now recording. Currently, yeah, sons of bitch and rat bastard kids. One of them told me the other day, though, completely unrelated. You know, they were saying, "Oh, you know, one of the kids in my class is from Indonesia." I said, "That's interesting. We're going to talk about an Indonesian horror movie on this week's episode." He said, "Yeah." Another one of them said they're from Micronesia. I said, "Oh, that's cool." I said, "You know where you're from? Amnesia, because I forgot to wear a condom." Ew,
Jesus.
Welcome, boys and ghouls, to a worldly minisode of Halloween's Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Steve.
That is one of the first times I can remember getting an actual genuine laugh rather than a groan. So that's we're things are going on the up and up. We're spiraling towards I don't know, maybe a more successful year post Halloween season.
I think a lot of that was because the joke you were telling, I was saying,
Yeah.
"Oh boy, this could be going in a racist direction." I don't think it is.
Oh, you were, yeah.
But I've never heard this joke before, so I don't know where it's going.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So yes.
Nope. Just going into an insult my children joke. Yeah, we are in fact watching an Indonesian horror movie this evening. We're watching a little flicky from the year of our Lord 2023 called The Draft! !
Mm-hmm.
Which I know I did. I think you did as well. We watched on the ScreamBox.
Yes.
If you out there are familiar with the ScreamBox. I'll tell you what. A little spoiler up front. This might have saved my ScreamBox subscription, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I have obviously I have a subscription, have not been utilizing it very much at all lately. In fact, forgot I had it. And then you mentioned this movie. I went on there, really liked this movie. A couple other things I might watch. So you know what? I might not cancel my ScreamBox subscription now for whatever information that's worth.
I mean, hey, we're heading into October, so they get at least one more month out of you. But
sure,
you know, no guarantees. No guarantees
no guarantees after that.
And this isn't like shitting on ScreamBox or anything, but you know what? I think we need to do a better job just as people saying no guarantees to any streaming service at all.
Yeah.
We're going to turn you off in a second, because we had it where we only had a couple streaming services and they were supposed to replace cable, but then they just turned into cable by being piecemeal and costing more. So you know what?
Yeah.
Look out, streaming services. We're going to turn you off for a couple months if you ain't got shit for us. Or we're just going to let it build up and come back to you when we want.
Sure. I went on a little bit of a canceling spree. I canceled my Mubi. I canceled my Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I got too many goddamn things on here, and I don't watch half of these. Like I said, I was going to cancel my ScreamBox. I honestly, I could cancel Netflix. There's really no reason for me to have fucking Netflix.
Sure.
But in any case, yeah, too many goddamn streaming services, you guys. But we're not talking about streaming services. We're talking about horror flickies. But before we do that, Steven, are you sipping on a brewski? Are you slurping on a beer tonight?
No, I got a sidey. It's sidey times.
Ooh,
it's still sidey times.
I did buy some cideys. I bought some cideys today, but I'm saving them. They weren't cold enough because I just bought them a couple hours because they weren't cold enough. But what's the sidey you got over there?
This is from Atomic Dog, formerly known as Jack's Hard Cider.
Oh, I didn't know they rebranded.
They rebranded to Atomic Dog, but this is their dry hopped. So it is a 5.5 ABV, and you can tell that it is just like super, super pale.
Yeah.
It's also super dry, and it has a little bit of a hop character to the end of it. It has a really nice,
Ooh.
like back end finish to it, an aftertaste.
Did they call out what hop varieties?
No, I think it's only one because the can says 3 ingredients, which I assume are apple, water, and hops.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I actually grabbed an interesting little dry French cider today that maybe I'll be drinking next week. So like I said, it wasn't quite cold enough. I, on the other hand, am drinking a beer. I'm slurping on a little beer called Rhine. And this is the first beer I've had, maybe second beer I've had from, is it Lolev Brewing?
Yeah. Lolev.
They are pretty new. They're in Lawrenceville, but they just opened a tap room, about 10 minutes from my house in Zillionople, near Burgers and Shoe Brew and all that stuff right in downtown Zillionople. And I met I don't know if he's the brewer, one of the owners, but I met him and I kept saying I'm going to come down, and I haven't yet, but I did see this beer. And I'm a sucker for a Helles. This is a Munich style Helles lager, and it's nice. I'll be honest with you. A lot of the times that I looked at their tap list, it was just straight up. It was just so many IPAs, some big sticky stouts. I don't know if I feel like it was just sours and stouts and IPAs and stuff. Hazy IPAs. But this is not bad. It's not knocking my damn shoes off. It's got a little bit of like a husky character to it. It's got a little bit of a kind of struck match sulfury note, which is not necessarily undesirable. Weirdly low carbonation for the style, but it's a nice Pils malt character. It's got a little bit of that grapey kind of ester, white grape type of ester. Very nice, very drinkable beer. Happily would drink me a few of these. Like I said, not the most complex. The carbonation is a little lacking, but it's a nice little Helles beer. I'm excited for this, especially for a brewery that, like I said, I don't think that they necessarily brew a lot of lagers. I think this is quite a nice shot at a Helles.
And I think
hard style to brew.
Yeah, I think they opened it within the last 5 years or so. Was the guy you met? Was his name Travis? Or
boy, you are asking the wrong dude. I'm so fucking bad with names.
I know.
I know his face.
Sure.
I know his face, but that's I do not know his name.
I think his name's Travis, and he went from Butler Brew Works to Lolev.
Okay. I remember Butler Brew Works used to have a good Kolsch back in the day. Anyway, liking this, grabbed a 4-pack of it. Zero buyer's remorse. I'm going to happily drink the rest of those, but I did grab some pumpkin beers and I grabbed some cides.
Yeah, cides.
But this is the only one that I grabbed out. This is the only ones I grabbed at. The only one I grabbed out of the cold box. So it is the only one ready for slurping this particular evening by recording time. Okay. Steven, before we get into this fun little flick, a couple things we got to do at the top of the show. I want to remind everyone, guys, next week, it's a-coming. We got the first Monday of October, which means our Wheel-O-Ween is coming back next week. So you got 1 week to go watch the movies that we are going to be recording. And as we like to do, we're going to have a big old fucking slobber knocker, a barn burner for October. We've got, of course, myself. We've got, of course, Steven. We're also bringing back our old buddy, Big Ween Ben, a.k.a. Big Top Ben, a.k.a. Big Foot Ben. He is going to be talking about The Nightmare Before Christmas. That's what the Wheel-O-Ween gave him. And then our other guest is going to be another old pal. We're going to be talking about our old pal Halloween. He's going to be joining us, and he coincidentally drew another kids' Halloween movie from the Wheel-O-Ween. He's going to be talking about 1998's Disney Channel classic Halloween Town. And then in a absolute stark contrast, I'm going to be talking about Slugs from 1988. And then Steven, in an even a third contrast, he's going to be talking about Halloween Part 5, which is The Revenge of Michael Myers. So
now hold up.
Whoa.
Now hold up.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Did you find
we had controversy. We had
information?
controversy about this.
We did. That's true.
And the controversy was I had thought that we had done Halloween 5 on a previous showdown, but I couldn't prove it within the episode because I couldn't find it right away. And it wasn't a part of the Wheel of Weens. And then I dug deeper. And what I actually found was it was Halloween 6. We did it with Paul Rudd. So yeah, I have to do Halloween 5 for this fuck-ass wheel.
I told you that. And you didn't believe me. I said, nope, the exploding dad head in the basement's from part 6. Yep. And you said, no.
I said I didn't know. I said I swore we did 5.
That's my Steve impression. No.
No.
He just was trying to weasel his way. Yeah, you're a, for some reason, old Italian no. In my mind. No, Brian. It was a Halloween 6. It was a Halloween 5.
Brian.
It was another 6. It was a 5. Brian.
Brian, you get a ragu everywhere. Brian, stop.
Brian, you break my heart. Yeah, nope. You are stuck with it. Yep. You are doing Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. The movie sucks.
Yes.
I honestly still love watching it. You know, I'm a sucker for this franchise. Even all the movies that suck from the franchise, I still like them. So I'm excited to watch this. So for next week, guys, we got to watch Halloween Town. We got to watch The Nightmare Before Christmas. We got to watch Halloween 5, and you got to watch Slugs. So that'll be the son of a bitchin' barn burner, the big pay-per-view, the WrestleMania, if you will, for us next week. This is our Halloween Wheel-O-Ween showdown. Some other fun stuff going on as well over on the Patreon. We get a lot of new listeners this time of year. We appreciate you for coming on over. Also, get the fucking lead out, kids. Where you been? Don't come in here like you fucking own the place. Give us your paper money. Empty your pockets, you fucks. As soon as you come over, we're going to start hitting you up for cash. Steve, tell them what's going on over on the Patreon.
Oh, you come over to the patreon.com/Halloween is forever. We treat you so good.
We treat you so good. We make you something to eat. Are you hungry?
Oh, I feel you so well.
That got a little sexual.
Yeah, I feel you so well. Ooh.
Oh, I thought you said I fill you so well. That's what
no, feed, not fill.
That's either one.
Yeah. Come on over, Patreon. You log on, you get a whole bunch of stuff. You get reviews and recos. You get 31 Days of Horror, which is coming up very, very soon. I got a Switch. I've been watching a bunch of fucking Japanese, gangster movies and Hong Kong gangster movies because I got to switch out of that mode for Halloween, for October. I got to get all the horror movies in October. So right now, I'm just doing nothing but watching Japanese gangster films. I got to get it out of my system. Got to get it in while I have time. I don't have time in October.
No, there ain't no time for gangster movies in October. It's all spooky shit. I kicked it off last night. I mean, I've already been watching Halloween stuff, but me and my kids watched The Corpse Bride last night. That's a family favorite. We watched that one last night, and I'm deep into it, Steve. I've been listening to Halloween music. I'm already working on a Halloween playlist. I'm deep in it.
Like I said, I got to get those things out of my system so I can write 31 Days of Horror. But that's coming into the Patreon now. Got 31 movies, maybe some TV shows, maybe some comic books, maybe some video games. I write about them all, but you're going to get a whole bunch of recos throughout the month. Things that you need to know, things you need to add. Plus, there's already 2 years of 31 days, which means that there's already 62 days of suggestions that you need to get a hold of anyway. So log on to the damn Patreon. And if that isn't enough for you,
get over there.
We got a whole other thing going on, which is our exclusive monthly podcast. Right now, we're doing 90s is Forever. And we just recorded the episode for Theodore Rex, which will be out sometime this week. You can listen to that. And boy, oh boy, does that movie stink on ice.
It kind of rules a little bit. It's a terrible movie. It is a terrible movie. Like all of these movies we've done, it's a terrible movie. It's a absolute flaming fucking turd of a train wreck. But it is by far the most fun I've had watching any of these movies so far.
Yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg being clearly not wanting to be on set, acting to a big rubber suit, guy in a bag. There's all types of stuff.
Guy in a bag. Yeah. You gotta listen. You gotta find out the lore behind Guy in the Bag. You gotta find out. We give you the origin of the WWF wrestler Edge. We give it all to you over on the Patreon,
Yep.
but you got to log on.
Yep.
So you get that episode of 90s is Forever. You get the 6 previous episodes of that. You get the 10 previous episodes of Youth Group is Forever. And you get the 10 previous episodes of Family is Forever. You get it all.
Ooh,
just for $5.
It's a lot of tent. Just a $5 little shekels. You get a lot of tent. A lot of tent over on the Patreon. Yeah. So if you got somebody in your life that likes this here podcast, or you found us during the Halloween season, you said, "God damn, guys, this is a fun little podcast I like to listen to on a weekly basis." We deliver some sticky sweet content every Monday. But if you want extra stuff, it's just a little $5. Come on, go cancel your ScreamBox subscription. Give us the dollars. No, I'm just kidding. Keep ScreamBox, cancel Hulu, cancel one of those bullshit things, and then give it to us every damn month.
Cancel Hulu, cancel Apple TV.
Yeah, fuck those people.
Just stick up middle fingers. Send Tim Apple an email with your middle fingers up. Say, suck my balls, Tim Apple.
God damn it, I hate you, Timmy Apple. Okay. All that behind us, we've made some friends, we've made some enemies, we've drank some beers, we've talked about a showdown next week. It's time to get into the draft! Exclamation point from 20 and 23. Steve, this is directed by, oh goodness, Yusran Fouadi? Fouadi?
Yeah, Fouadi, I would guess, yeah.
Yeah, Fouadi. Are you familiar with this director? Have you watched anything else from him?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
This is just something that came across. How'd this come across your screen?
It's purely based on. I went on the website every now and then. I just go on the website upcominghorrormovies.com. Not to plug anybody else's work, but yeah, upcominghorrormovies.com. They carry trailers for a bunch of movies that are coming out. This one either came out. I think, well, obviously it came out this week to stream because it was on Amazon and ScreamBox. So I figured, hey, let's check this one out. There was a couple other ones that I saw that I even suggested to you, but I think they'll wind up in 31 Days of Horror. But yeah, I simply watched the trailer for this film and it looked fucking nutty. And then you watch the movie and it is nutty, but it's not nutty the way that the trailer portrays it. No,
I didn't watch the trailer, and you even, I think you would watch the trailer, maybe not watch the movie where you suggest this to me, because you were like, oh, it's an Indonesian zombie movie, which it is a little bit, but it's a lot of other things before it's a zombie movie. So it's definitely a big left turn from what I was suggesting, or what I was expecting rather. And boy, howdy, was it fun though.
Yeah, same. Yeah, it was a big left turn from what I was expecting as well. It just had the trailer features some of the big set pieces, which all occur within the zombie portion of the film. So so a lot of the craziness that happens during the zombie portion of the film is in the trailer, but that gets you excited because you're like, oh, that's fucking wild. So yeah.
Yeah, which is only the last 25 minutes, which is crazy. And it still keeps your attention. Anyway, pretty tight little runtime here of 84 minutes and a small cast. This is a small budget film. Kind of a big idea, ambitious idea, which we'll get into here in a second. But I don't recognize anybody. I don't watch a lot of Indonesian horror, but we do have basically 5, I guess, main kind of characters here. We have Wati, which is Anastasia Herzegova. We have Winner Wijaya, who plays Amir. Putri Anji, who plays Ani. We have Adin Abdul Hakim, who plays Iwan. And we have Arnata Kuzuma, who plays Mang Dadang, Uncle Dadang. And then we have 2 different actors, I guess.
Yes.
Hung Bramatayo and Haydar Salij.
No.
That play Booty?
Yeah, your information's incorrect. Wherever you're getting it from.
Who plays Booty?
Okay, so there are 2 booties or buddies.
Yeah.
One is Haydar Salish,
Oh, okay.
and the other is Ibrahim Alami.
Okay. Yeah,
Hun-
Ibrahim
Hun-
Alame. Okay, yes. I'm sorry, I'm reading from the wrong place. I'm just looking at the guy who had the picture beside him. Yep.
Yeah. Hanang Bramantio plays
Yeah.
a different character, and his character might not even be listed because he's essentially playing himself. And
he's the writer.
Yeah, we can talk more about him and what the whole kind of crux of this film is. So for American audiences, I don't think anybody is going to be recognizable to you. So I think, when we get to the part in the film where we get to learn more about these characters, I'll try to talk about it more, because I did do a little bit of a dive as best I could.
Yep.
On some of these actors. And then that way maybe you'll be in on the joke when it happens.
Yeah, this is I'm gonna say black comedy, or it's definitely got laughs built into it, for sure. This is one of those movies that I would argue is kind of like alarmingly meta.
Yeah,
it's kind of like it gave me vibes definitely of I saw a lot of people, even when I just looked it up initially when I was looking to find where to stream it from, see if there was any other options, because like I said, I was going to cancel my ScreamBox. People were saying Cabin in the Woods, which I get that.
Sure,
talking about the tropes and all that. To me, it was a lot more One Cut of the Dead.
Yeah,
but it also wasn't the behind the scenes of filmmaking, but it was like the behind the scenes of film writing. And I would argue that it's even kind of more meta than either of those movies.
Yeah.
But not as well executed as either, but understanding that those are two like masterpieces of the genre. So it's pretty high.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, those are like two top 100 movies of all time, horror movies of all time. So that's pretty high praise if you compare them to them. But I do like that I have to assume this one's on purpose as well, but the synopsis, and I'm reading this from Letterboxd, is 5 teenager, an old villa, old well, forbidden room, dark secret of the past, a seemingly omnipotent evil. Survival is the key. Let the battle of wits begin. And then within 10 minutes, it shows all of the characters' ages, and they're all in their 20s. Not one teenager among them.
Yeah, not one teenager among them.
They're all in their like early to mid 20s.
Yeah. Even this on IMDb, the write up is 5 typical college students spend their weekend in a typical old villa, only to find that they have to survive a battle of wits against an absolute, almighty, all powerful terror that is seemingly undefeated. So yeah, it's. It says college students at least, so you get the idea that they are in their 20s. But yeah.
They start out by the 5 of them driving in this, remote wooded area to one of, I think, Ani, her parents' villa or her family's villa, and they're chatting about Satan and evil spirits and just kind of trying to spook each other a little bit, like the way that any group of teens going on a trip to, let's say, a cabin in the woods might talk, right? They're seeing like somebody sees like a weird shawled figure. There's just like a lot of random tropes. There's a scary rock. At one point, we just look at a rock and it's like dun dun. It's like an altar kind of thing. So there's just like a lot of just mysterious tropes. The old kind of rundown villa out in the jungle. There's a graveyard nearby. They say like it's an old Dutch graveyard.
Yeah.
So there's just overwhelming amount of tropes, and this is certainly by design. We get Ani, who is kind of like, I think they describe them almost in Breakfast Club-esque type of like labels at one point, but I did not write down what they associate them with.
It's I mean, that's a little bit later in the film, but like when they first do kind of the name age layover, they also put what each character is studying in school. Mm-hmm. So like Ani is a nursing student, the director is a film student. I believe Ani's boyfriend buddy is like an engineer of some sort. So like they all kind of have like a lot of standard things that, you know, kids can associate with.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's just more that like everything feels very standard, but it feels off for some reason. Like they're doing a little too much. And you're not quite sure why.
Yeah, a lot of these references and things, everything's feeling very heavy-handed. And I think it probably, certain elements land differently for us, but just because obviously we're watching this with subtitles and we probably don't get some of the, you know, I always find that some of the subtleties in, you know, voice tone and things like that don't necessarily come across in text form, but where you still get the idea that everything's being laid on pretty thick, that this is the teens ramping up to a horror-filled night, right?
Right.
We get introduced to Uncle Dadang, who is like the caretaker of who's related to Ani, who's like I think her actual uncle, or I don't know if it's a great uncle. He's an actual relation, an actual uncle, but he is also kind of the caretaker. So he's kind of hosting them as well for this like little weekend getaway. We also get I believe it's Iwan, who's the guy with the beard, right? He's skeptical immediately of everything. He's talking about how everything's spooky and talking about, you know, the devil and evil spirits and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And one of the first things that we get is one of those classic lazy jump scares of, so within all of this, we're getting kind of a found footage POV as well from Amir's camera. So Amir, every now and then we cut into Amir's camera when it's convenient, but it's not used all the time. But one of the times it's convenient is when they want to give you this cheap, lazy jump scare of Uncle Dadang in the door. And then Uncle Dadang comes out the door and he says, "Oh no, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And then proceeds to launch into this incredibly convenient monologue about how there's no power in the house. But but he has provided a whole bunch of candles and oil lamps for everybody to use. That's conveniently here as well.
The generator's gone down the second they walk in the door. Also, there's 4 rooms. He's given them the tour of the villa, and it's like, but that room, that's a mysterious locked room. Don't go into the mysterious locked room. We also like see Ani like sees a little girl ghost at one point, and we start to get little bits of backstory about like her sister, her dead little sister, but we never get any real details. And we're like, why are we not getting? It feels like it should be about Annie and her past, but then there's also other things that are happening. We're like, okay, wait, no, is it about the graveyard? Is it about the little girl? Like, what's it about? We're just getting these little peeks at all this like spooky stuff that's happening, but we never, nothing ever comes to light. Like nothing ever comes to fruition.
Yeah, nothing gels is what happens.
Right. Yeah. Which is, spoiler alert, by design. They all settle into their bedrooms to kind of rest after traveling. And go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out one of the other things we see, and this is something that like comes up a lot in the very early goings of the film, to the point that I went and looked it up because I wasn't sure about it. But like in that first car trip in, Annie sees, you know, that woman in the shroud. And then when they get there, their Uncle Dadang is making a lot of jokes about the kuntilanak. And the kuntilanak is like a type of Indonesian folklore ghost woman who is also like a vampire. And so
who wears like funeral shrouds and stuff, right?
Yeah. So I was thinking, this movie's going to be about the kuntilanak, and then maybe, you know, like she brings back zombies. I don't know that much about, you know, this monster, so I don't know what her powers are. Like, because I was already jumping ahead in the trailer. I was like, okay, so maybe it's about her, and then it's about that. And then it's like, oh, well, hold on. But why would the little girl show up? That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't feel like it's gelling, like you said.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I didn't recognize the name, but that creature, like the Indonesian, I would have just thought it was like an Indonesian vampire, which is like, so you bury somebody, they come back from the dead, they have the burial shroud. Like, I feel like I've watched maybe 3-4 other Indonesian horror movies, and like at least 2 or maybe even 3 of them were all about that.
Yeah.
In some way or so. Like a very common, it would be as common, if not more so, than a vampire or a zombie or something like that. To Western horror movies. Yeah,
because that particular monster isn't totally dissimilar from, like, The Grudge or, Samara from The Ring. And but like you're much more violent in the fact that she'll gut her victims and then eat their entrails and shit like that. So like there's like, she's a ghost, but also she's super violent ghost. So it's like,
she's a ghoulish ghost of sorts.
Yeah, but she's not a head of hanging entrails either, so like she falls in the middle,
Head of hanging entrails rules. I forget what that thing is called, but it rules. Anyway, old Unc sleeps out by the spooky old deep forbidden abandoned well that eats cats, I guess. I don't know. So again, we're just getting all this fucking random tropes and warnings and things like that. We also see him like really staring into a mirror, like he's up to no good too, but we just don't know in what capacity. But they all go to bed and they wake up to Annie screaming, and they go into her room, and Ewan goes to get Uncle because they can't get into the room. Amir ends up kicking in the door, doing his like jump kick, which is like a reoccurring gag. He does this like taekwondo jump kick, and our good Bud the Chud, has been stabbed to death.
Yeah,
with some sort of
farming implement. It looked like a hand scythe.
That's exactly what it looks like. Yeah, yep. Or something to like harvest, like. Looks like something you would harvest coconuts with or something, it's like this curved blade. Anyway, everyone's kind of chill about it. Like they're not really reacting in a normal way. Amir immediately starts like taking video for posterity. Meanwhile, Ewan goes down. He can't find the uncle. He's got blood on his hands. So they immediately are like, how did you get blood on your hands? Was it you? And then he's like, no, I must have got it when I went down and tried to open the uncle's door. So they go down to check on the uncle. They all go together and they like arm themselves with like this villa. When you think villa, you think like this Italian, like Tuscan villa, it's not that.
No,
it's a shitty, it's a big old beautiful house that's kind of fallen into disrepair.
Yeah.
And is like covered in like mildew and shit, and is just like there's like broken couches laying in the yard and shit. Like it's fallen into disrepair.
Yeah.
But they get like hunks of wood. They go to find the uncle, but he apparently has hung himself. We don't know that for sure. He's either hung himself, but he is hung by the neck.
Yeah. He wound up hung somehow.
Yeah.
And you don't know how, and then it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They decide they're all going to bail. But when they get to the car, the tires are flat. But then they try anyway, and it surprisingly seems to drive pretty well. And this is where you start getting some ideas that Amir is starting to pick up on something that the rest of the group is not. As they're driving back down this like very rural, like, mountainous forest road, right? Amir is like, how long have you had this car's not new, right? How long have you had this car? Oh, and where did you get it? No, like specifically where and when did you get it? He's asking these questions, which don't really sound like they don't make sense at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to a place where the slam on the brakes and then pan back, and the car is just at the end of a cliff. And there was one road in and one road out, and this road is now gone, and there's just a sheer mountain cliff.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is happening here, right?
Yeah, you're fully like, okay, hey, I'm either in The Evil Dead or I'm in Cabin in the Woods. Like either this happens because of the ghost, as in Evil Dead, when it bends back the bridge, or it's Cabin in the Woods and some outside force is acting on this, because this is too weird and too convenient.
Right. So, like I said, Amir seems to kind of know what's going on. He and I think it's Wati go to like some like this little like peak where they can see more of the countryside or the forest. And meanwhile, Ani and Iwan stay back in the car. And first of all, Ami is like admits that she's not that bummed about Bud the Chud getting murdered.
Yeah.
And she's like, I am sad, but I'm not that sad. And I don't kind of know why. Like she's admitting that like her motivations for what she should be feeling are not lining up.
Yeah.
Her motivations and what she should be feeling versus what she is feeling are not lining up. They then hear Bud in the house and they're like, but he's dead. Like, and she's like, no, I heard him. Meanwhile, cut back, Amir and Wati, have this theory about what's happening, but it gets interrupted by Iwan because Annie ran into the villa to see what's up with Bud. So they all run back. They run to the bedroom, and Bud is like dead again, but like he looks like he was murdered in a different way, maybe. Like he's got slashes on his face.
He's dead differently.
Yeah, he's dead, but in a different way. And then this is when Amir kind of starts laying down his theory to everyone, which is, and this movie takes a wacky turn here, kind of going into the second act. Amir explains that he has a theory that they are in a horror film, more specifically, a horror script that is actively being written as they go. Yeah. And each one of them are like the archetypes, right, that we talked about. It's like, this one's like, I'm the nerdy one. You're the outdoorsy jock guy. You're the beautiful girl. You're the whatever. You know what I mean? I forget what they all are. And he just starts listing off all of the tropes that they've come across so far. Like, and it doesn't make sense that they're not actively in a horror movie that is being written. But they're all self-aware now. So they are characters being acted upon by a writer in a script, but they are self-aware and they are aware of the environment that they're in.
Yeah. And it boils down to a lot of like the characters themselves are like pushing back on the writer. No longer are we in a film that's about 5 teenagers against, supernatural evil. We're about 5 teenagers who are against a writer, and this is the Daffy Duck bit, extended into a horror film. Sure.
Yeah.
But it still works, and it still like is a good film, and it's still like a lot of fun. So in this scene while they're in the car and they're kind of like explaining everything, and they're like also taking guesses at like who is playing them, who they are.
Right. Yeah.
And this is where the movie dives like super meta.
Yeah. I mean, they're literally talking about like, well, we have these limited backstories that affect our memory. And like, we have very shallow details. Like basically not only are we characters, but we're poorly written characters.
Yeah.
That like, yeah. So they also don't have information because they don't have information until it's written. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. They don't have information until it's written. They don't know their backstory. They don't know like other things about their lives. And so it's all very confusing. But I do just like, when they're guessing about who's who, Amir is played by a person. I believe they use they pronouns.
I think so.
But Winner Wijaya, they are an actual director. And so like their guess, Amir's guess as to who they are, he's like, I think I'm probably some famous director. And Winner, they are an award-winning like documentary director in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
And then they have a guess about Buddy, and they're like, Buddy is probably somebody who like the director or producer trusts. And Buddy, one of the buddies, the one played by Haydar, has worked on previous movies with the director of this film. I know it's getting confusing in the meta, but the director of this film, Yusron, that actor has worked with Yusron in the past. So now they're like guessing that meta.
Yeah. And then that changes here in a sec, which is hilarious. But yeah, they're making all these guesses about who is going to play them, and they are aware of the universe that they live in and how the story is affecting them and they're being acted on, and then how they're responding to the story that's being written. But they don't necessarily know or have line of sight or understanding to the broader world that the writer lives in. Like, they don't even know who the writer is.
Right.
So it's not like the writer lives in the same world. The writer is creating the world they live in. So the writer is like a god to them in a way. Yeah.
Which is why like their world is empty. You know, they make part of Amir's original theory was like, Wati, you heard, the Islam called a prayer. So that means there should be a village nearby. Well, when we get to the top of this peak, we don't see any villages within an hour, within any eyesight. We should be able to see some civilization. And it's just like the same shitty trees copy and pasted in CGI over and over again.
Yeah, I love the idea that the things that don't make sense, they acknowledge they're as a result of shitty writing.
Yeah,
that's like such
so
a
funny. It's so funny
theme which I've never seen before. Like I can safely say there's other movies we mentioned that have that like fourth wall breaking element, but this is like beyond that. This is almost like hilarious, like meta in an absurdly over the top way.
Yeah. There's one other film I've seen do this. And it's interesting because this film was released in 2023 to to the Indonesian market, and it was an award winner at one of the film festivals over there, and then I believe it played at Fantastic Fest over here last year, and so now it's just hitting streaming markets for us 2025. There was a movie I watched earlier this year called Dead Teenagers. And it does something very, very similar to this film, but they are not the same film at all. So I think they were just kind of made in parallel with each other.
That makes sense.
But yeah, there still are some of those elements of, backstories being empty and, like bad writing causing certain things. But yeah, check out Dead Teenagers. I think it's on Tubi.
Okay.
I would say it's not as good as this film, but it still plays with that same meta in an interesting way that I think is like, it's a fine film to watch. And I think it's more interesting than, a lot of films because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is, there was time. It took me a little bit to reel me in on this movie, but once they did, I'm glad they didn't keep it too long until like this big reveal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in any case, they eventually parse out that they might be able to influence the writer to escape, or at least to delay their inevitable fate, their inevitable deaths. Ewan is like going off on this whole like, and then you could of course take some assumptions to an even further level of like these characters are representing the the quote unquote angel and devil on the writer's shoulders that are telling him he's doing a good job versus a bad job.
Right.
And like, because he's of course creating all these characters. So they really are, even though they are fully fleshed out in his imagination, like they are still obviously all coming from him. And we are just watching elements of his personality, his ego, his insecurities, all these things. But Ewan just keeps going on about how dumb the whole thing is. And like I said, Amir recognizes that it's all just like the writer pushing back, and that like, guys, we're going to be dead soon. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of like when that's going to happen and how that's going to happen. But ultimately it does shift. The rules shift a little bit at the end, which is kind of interesting, which I kind of liked, but we'll get to that. They're just arguing about like all these plot theories. And then the uncle just knocks on the window of the car because he's alive.
Yeah.
And so we get these, like, they're just rewrites. So like people are dead, then they're alive, then they kill themselves, now they're alive this second later. At one point we get to here in a second. Well, I won't jump too far ahead because we're about to talk about it, but there's also a lot of jokes about he's writing this script, and like when they switch from day to night, right, or something, like the light will change like really abruptly in their world. But they don't necessarily seem to notice, or they don't understand what has changed, but it's just he's starting a new page, or he's starting a new chapter, or he's rewriting a particular page.
He's just jumping around in scenes, or he doesn't have a good, it's because it is a draft, and that's where we get the title from. He doesn't have a good flow to the story. He's just like hitting bullet points and getting beats down, and getting like the scenes that come to him first. And maybe he doesn't have the connective tissue yet, but also he's still struggling with, like, well, what's the actual monster here? What's going on here? Because so far we've run through possibilities of, the Cunty Lanark, which we already mentioned, but that got ditched. Maybe it's a well ghost. Maybe it's something out of the graveyard. Maybe it's just Uncle himself. We've run through all of this, and now he doesn't know what this story is. He is struggling with it. Yeah, and now the film seems to settle on like this concept of, I don't know if this is another lore in Indonesia that I don't know about, but like the idea that like there's a ghost that like makes you tear your head apart. Is what we come down on for a bit. It's such a left turn, and I didn't know if there was a cultural like established trope with this, but he gets to this point where, first of all, they all decide he just starts over. First of all, so they all just arrive for the first time again, right? And Bud is a different actor. Yes, Bud is a different actor, like, and he's like super happy and playing it like upbeat. Yeah, he's not like the jerky guy he was before, and like Annie, the girlfriend, like she doesn't even notice. It seems like Amir's the only one who's kind of identifying what's changing, but the script is being revised, right? And there was some sort of deal where like, and we get this cutaway scene where it's like the producer like makes the writer use a different actor. So that's why this guy's involved now. But then he rips his own face over. He just rips his own, like grabs the top of his jaw, his bottom of his jaw, and like rips it apart. Like that's what he does to himself. He dies. And he's just dead on the ground. So the new Bud shows up, he kills himself in a brutal way within like 2 seconds. Which may have just been like the writer acting out, the anger of being forced to use that new actor. Because we do get these cutaways to an actual outside of the world that we're in of the draft, and the lighting changes, like everything changes. And late shot, and it gives us titles and dates. And so it starts off in 2004, and so we can imagine this is the first draft of the script is being written in 2004. And so that's kind of why everything in the world is, maybe a little behind of the times, because, it's a script written in 2004. Right. And so you look it up, and this is where I started doing my digging, my Columboing. The character is referred to as Nung, which is just kind of like a nickname, but you look in the credit list and you have Hanung Bramantio, who is a known director with like 55 credits to his name as a director. And his career starts in 2005. And then you go, aha, this is exactly who we're talking about. But then, so this is a little autobiographical as well. Maybe not, but I think maybe they just picked a very popular Indonesian director.
This isn't the director of this movie talking about himself. This is a separate director.
No.
Gotcha.
This is a separate real life director. And so they're doing like kind of a fake biography. This would be like if, this film was, directed by Eli Roth, but it was Mike Flanagan writing the script,
Understood. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they even lay it out perfectly because jumping ahead, the writer struggles further and further with trying to finish the horror script that we're watching. And eventually, has to relent on this script and make a separate film. And he gets a script for a film called Verses of Love, which I think is probably recognized as like his big breakout script. Because it's on IMDb and it has like a 6.9 on IMDb. Yeah. So like, it's probably recognized as like his big breakout movie that he did as a director. And then it's also, you can tell Verses of Love is not a horror movie. And he has a few horror movies in there, but he has a lot of, just like fucking Love But Different and Love Everlasting. And he has a TV series coming out calling The End of Love. So it's like he does like a lot of romance, like kind of.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, they're just having a little fun with the this concept, but then they got the actual director to play himself in this movie.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it's good context. It's I mean, you get all this stuff without doing the research, but it is interesting to like understand the real elements of these people and like the biographical elements, I guess. But in any way, they go out like the rewrites are just coming fast and furious here. So the car's gone, and Amir's the only one who even remembers there was a car. Like, I think the other guy's like, I thought we came here on public transit, Amir ends up going down to Unk's shack and then just like ends up like ripping his own jaw off and throwing himself down the well or something. Like he gets killed once for a second. So they all start pretty much trying to, like, everyone just starts trying to pull their jaws off, and then they all are like fighting them, trying to protect them to not do that. Then there's like a really briefly, we see one clip of there's some sort of monster that's actually ripping their jaw off.
Yeah.
It's a monster, like an alien-y type of looking thing.
Yeah. Ewan goes into what was previously the Forbidden Room. And so I believe now, the writer had an idea for what the Forbidden Room is, and it's this room where you see the arms come out like tentacles. It's like a Silent Hill almost type deal of like, the room has like its own sentience to it, and it pulls you off the ground and rips your head apart for you.
Yeah. And then at one point, like, Amir doesn't have, like, he's missing a leg, like he's an amputee at one point.
Yeah.
That's when he throws himself down the stairs, beats himself up, and then crawls down and throws himself down the well.
Right.
So there's just a lot of story ideas being hashed out here. Eventually the writer rips up the pages, and there's a really cool, it's CGI obviously, shot of the whole landscape, including the entire forest, like rolling up into a tube with the house in it and then being burned. And you see this circle coming up, burning from the middle, and then zoom out and you see that has rolled up his typed piece of paper and is burning it from the end, like almost like a cigar. So that's why you see it. So it's just a really, really clever, interesting little CGI visual there. Transition. Then there's one part, like, you can see that the writer is really going through it here, right? You see the house get like exploded, you see the woods on fire, you then see the writer like standing on a bridge, and he like sets his own motorcycle on fire and kicks it off the bridge, and you start getting these like I'll be honest with you, I don't fully understand what was happening, but you see like that zoom out almost being a video on a camera, like an old timey flip phone camera type of thing.
Yeah.
And then you see like messages that are coming through that are directed to him that say like, why'd you set your motorcycle on fire? You're an idiot. Like, go back to making wedding videos, you piece of shit, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was like his own self-doubt manifesting itself in some way, or if that was actually critics saying in his life, like his family and friends saying like, stop being a dumbass.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. That one was a little hard for me. And I guess kind of just, I made it up for myself that like, I don't know, maybe he was doing like an insurance fraud and like, set his motorcycle on fire and blew it up. But like it got out that he was doing it for the money because I imagine he was doing it for the money to fund this film, the one that we're watching.
Sure. Sure.
But that's why he has to give it up later in Direct Verses of Love, because he doesn't have the money, he doesn't have the juice, he has no other choice but to go direct a Hallmark movie. So
yeah. And you see like he's going through all this turmoil and you see how that's affecting the world of the characters, right? We then see like, the angry room that they're all in that room now and they're seeing all the things on the wall that are like headlines from newspapers and stuff. And it feels like that is now symbolizing all the like socio-political and economic factors that have and continue to influence Indonesian film.
Yeah. Because I mean, one of them that's very clear is about the 1966 kind of uprising that was like anti-communist killing. Like it was propaganda that communism was on the rise. And so you get, a wave of, mass killings of communists in Indonesia. And if you want to see just a fucking absolutely devastating film about that, the film's called The Act of Killing. It was produced by Werner Herzog, but it was directed by Joshua Oppenheimer. God, does that movie just destroy your soul in many, many ways?
I went on a real Werner Herzog documentary kick for a while, and I remember watching that one, and it is a real downer.
Yeah.
As are almost all his movies.
Yeah, pretty much. Most of them all are.
Yeah.
But yeah. Hey, go check out that film once you're done with this silly kind of goof around meta look into, screenwriting. But the wall is filled with all of that kind of propaganda that led to the killings. And so you're kind of like, I don't get the full connection that maybe the writer was making, and maybe the writer character in this movie didn't know the connection he was trying to make himself. He only knew, he only kind of immaturely understood that, this was a terrible thing that happened in Indonesian history, and, films should be influenced or featuring things that happened in history, which is why there's also the Dutch graveyard that's also on the property, because that's another thing, the Dutch basically had control, with the East India Company of many parts of Indonesia for a long time. And that caused a lot of strife and turmoil there. So like, it's like he's trying to inject things that he thinks he's supposed to inject, but he's not mature enough as, a writer to do.
Yeah. He's just throwing stuff against the wall, trying to see what'll stick. Case in point, it's now zombies, right? So all of a sudden it's a zombie movie.
Yeah.
And it's funny because now all of a sudden, randomly, all these zombies start coming up out of the jungle, rising out of the soil and approaching the villa. And in a really funny moment, Amir specifies to, I forget who, somebody
Amir
else.
Specifies to Ewan as they're trying to barricade the house. But, I think Amir is saying it to the entire house because Wati and Ani are upstairs looking out the window, acting as spotters, and they see all the zombies coming, and they're like, hurry up, here come the zombies. And Amir says, oh, don't worry, they're classic zombies. And Ewan's like,
Right.
what do you mean classic zombies? Well, classic zombies were slow up until the 2000s. After the 2000s, they can sprint.
Yeah. Well, because he's like, and classic zombies can't climb.
Yeah.
So we'll just literally stack our luggage on the stairs and they won't be able to get up, you know? But then he's like, why did you, what do you mean by classic zombies? And he's like, zombies couldn't sprint until the year 2000. And then all of a sudden they are now sprinting zombies.
Yeah. The zombies,
like, fuck.
The zombies fucking Matrix download that information and start sprinting.
Yeah. So, they can influence the writer in ways that benefit them or hurt them.
Which also, just in general, it's also a very meta thing that, zombies were very popular in the mid 2000s anyway. So everybody was writing zombie films. So of course zombies came out of the ground.
Yeah. And he starts influencing the script now by like manifesting solutions, like asking characters if they remember things. Like he says to Annie's like, where's all, your uncle's stash of machetes and stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, that's right, it's down here. Oh, and also, wasn't he like a big time gangster? yeah, there's a bunch of guns. So like they go down and they have this like stockpile of weapons, and they start suiting up, basically. So the girls are up top and they're everything is just like very loosey-goosey and silly at this point. Like they're yelling gags from the upper, like, pretty girls just stay up in the tower. Like they're just yelling stuff down at Amir and Ewan, who are like doing this big last stand of all the, thousands of sprinting zombies coming out of the forest. And they're just blasting them, right? They've got like shotguns. They've got like assault rifles. They've set claymores up and all this stuff, right? At one point, Annie finds like a fucking Gatling gun, like a 50 cal, like, G.I. Joe style Gatling gun. Just starts opening it up on the zombies. The claymores go off. There's big explosions, but it's not enough. There's just too many. They get chased into the house. They're trying to hold them back. They get basically overrun. And just as they're about to die in this like last ditch Hail Mary effort, Amir suggests that the writer is too much of a broke bastard. He can't afford this many extras. And that's enough for him to stop writing. Yeah. And they just vanish. All the zombies vanish, which is the climax, frankly, and probably the funniest gag in the scene, in the movie, to me. It's
so funny and it's so real. That one was such a real thing to me too, because when I used to write, like I would find myself writing, big set pieces, and I'm like, I just turned this into a $50 million movie. I can't, what the fuck? I just, I have to sell this to, the biggest studio at the time in order for this to get made. How stupid, how foolish, but if you're a writer and you're listening to this, do that anyway. Write it as big and stupid as you want, and then pare it down as you need to. Like, you don't write within a budget. Make the film work within the budget after you have a budget.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my one dumb little tip.
It's Steven's writing workshop corner.
Yeah.
We'll start injecting in there. But yeah, this is, they appeal to his fear at that moment and get him to stop writing. They also he tries to write the big climactic showdown with Zombie Bud, where they kill Zombie Bud, but then they may or may not get bitten. They're not sure. Then like the lighting changes right after Bud's dead. And then we have E1's, like they're all like locked in the upstairs, like one bedroom, and it's like, oh, what's going to happen next? Whatever. And then actually, I think this might be the funniest scene is Ewan starts transforming. Like he's like, oh, I'm not feeling good. And he looked down, they notice he's been bitten. Classic zombie trope, right?
Yeah.
And then Ewan just starts doing this bit that's pretty funny where he just keeps going, he just does this like almost like it sounds like he's trying to clear his throat, but he's changing into a zombie, and Amir's like holding him back, and they're like, shoot him. No, I can't. It's Ewan. Like, it's just, the joke is that it's so poorly written
Yeah.
that the way they're manifesting the poorly written, the poor writing skills on screen is that the actors are all doing stupid things and acting poorly.
And they can't help themselves.
Yeah.
That's the thing you really learn, is that once the writer has written something, they can't help themselves but to do it. And it is based on how, and you get the sense of how much the writer believes in what he's written by how bad they're acting.
Yeah. So like Elon's going, they're like, no, not Elon.
Because it is just such a lazy way to get to that point of like, the writer says, fuck, I have all 4 of them trapped in a room now. How I can't kill them all at once. How do I do this? Oh yeah. Okay. E1 was bit and nobody saw it happen. Yeah. And now E1's got to change. Great. I can separate E1 and Amir. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Get it out. Move on to the next.
Well, and then they won't shoot him. So like, Amir like sacrifices himself to, push E1 out the door. And then they barricade up the door. So now it's just the 2 girls in the room, and they hear like the zombies banging on the door outside because they're like, oh, it must be E1 and Amir trying to get back in. They're zombies now. But they do have in like a bit of authenticity, Amir has left a list of rules for them to follow to survive, which is like, don't, and they're all hyper specific Indonesian horror tropes, which is really interesting. Some of them are like, stay away from creepy kids, do that, stuff like that. Yeah. But then there's also like, don't listen to this type of very specific neighboring countries' music, because those are all must have been tropes that are in famous Indonesian horror movies. So this is big long list. And then eventually Annie does the like put their heads together, like, do you trust me? And does like the double suicide, like shoot through her head into the other girl's head. And the writer rolls up, the whole thing and just sets it on fire and is pissed off and just gives a full, like, gives up. Like you see him just like having a little tantrum, throwing his books and shit all over the room. He's pissed off. And then some guy calls him and basically says, like, what you said, we'll fund the zombie movie, but you have to write this other script, which is I didn't write down the name, but that's the verse.
That's the Verses of Love.
Yeah. Verses of Love. So now the characters are just like there, right? Just the 4 of them, by the way. Bud doesn't get to come back, which I think is funny.
Right. Yeah.
It's just the 4 of them. Bud's dead, but the characters sit there and prepare. They start to prepare. They start stockpiling weapons, and they recognize that they can do whatever they want while the story's not being written.
Right.
So basically the illusion is like, we can just all like fuck each other, I guess, which is pretty funny.
Yeah. They're going to bone down.
Their whole idea is like, there's no consequences. We're made up. This world is made up. Let's just fuck each other and we can just do whatever we want until he starts writing. But we have to be prepared for when he starts writing and what he writes. And then Amir starts to like kind of prognosticate over even further. Like, well, what if he doesn't? When do you think he'll start writing? Well, it could be tomorrow. It could be 10 years from now. It could be 20 years from now. It could be 50 years from now. And like, what would happen if he waited this long versus this long? And you are seeing a cut back and forth of the actual writer aging, doing other things, finally coming across this half-written script in like a random tote of a bunch of old stuff when they're showing the age. I'm sorry, the dates kind of go by. So I think it fast forwards and it's like 2047 or something. And he is looking through this old box of stuff and finds this script, and you're like, oh no, he's going to start writing it before. But what is that going to mean for them? Right. And having all this time has passed. So, and that's it. That's the end. That's in the end of the movie. So I thought it was This was a movie that I took my opinion, a really crazy high, almost obnoxiously high concept.
Yeah, right.
But didn't take it too seriously. And did the most impressive thing for me is it stuck the landing.
Yeah.
Which is so hard for something like this. I'm not saying it was the most entertaining movie I've ever seen in my life, but it was so different as a like old jaded horror fan that I was just like, wow, like I don't even get all the context here because this is, you know, obviously I don't speak Indonesian, but like it was really impressive how well they stuck the landing on such a bizarre, outlandish concept that, because I'm sitting there thinking this had to be so hard to write. And then I'm like, well, was it? Isn't it just make it easier to write because you're making your own rules?
Yeah.
But then I was like, well, yeah, but then you have to adhere to a bunch of rules that aren't established yet. And I'm like, yeah, but you still could do things like, oh, this is stupid and bad because the writing is bad.
Yeah,
you know what
I
mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's a really novel concept that they executed really well.
Yeah, a lot of films are about filmmaking or about the filmmaking industry. Not even necessarily horror movies, but just like, how many just independent films do you see that are just, centered in Los Angeles about an actor trying to be an actor, or a writer trying to be a writer. Like, so you see that shit all the time. And this one takes a great meta stab at it because you get the conflict between the writer and his characters. And like, that's one of my favorite parts. And that's why I love that they do stick the landing. That other film I was talking about, Dead Teenagers, does not stick its landing. It fucking eats its dick in the dirt. Like,
yeah, it does to the movie what you did with that analogy.
No, that's the right analogy. It lays in the dirt and eats its dick. It doesn't eat its own dick. It doesn't knock its dick in the dirt. It lays down in the dirt, eats its own dick. Like a dirty barn cat. It eats its dick in the dirt.
I like that. It eats its dick in the dirt. I'm holding on to that one.
But yeah, this one lands it because, like, we see where the writer director is at, in the future. Mm-hmm. But we also get the characters who are still essentially him in some sort of way, all saying like, we don't know when he's going to write next. And it's, and like, that's great because it's that old kind of action film ending. It's a recognizable ending to a wildly unrecognizable concept, or and it's setting up for a sequel. It's the action film sequel ending of like, we don't know when he's gonna write next, but we'll be ready for him, so it's like it's the it's even the Super Mario Brothers 2, or not 2, but the Super Mario Brothers ending where Peach busts in the door and Mario and Luigi's apartment, and she's like, you guys will never guess. Yeah, it's interesting too, of like, I mean, obviously we talked about it, but it's coming from the writer's imagination and in real life and in the script. And then the idea that the writer is the villain, and also that relationship with yourself as a writer, that like you are your own worst enemy, like you are the villain. Mm-hmm. You're the protagonist and the antagonist. Right. You know what I mean? Is it doesn't feel far flung. Yeah. And I think that's why the character of Amir is like the most self-aware, because they're both partially like they're both probably a self-insert, of the writer director, but then also they're based on, this other person they know in their real life, Winner. Yeah. And so when you're writing a character that's based on somebody, like, you kind of write how they would react. And then Amir is reacting, with the logic of like, you're writing dog shit, and you're writing dog shit, and this person would tell you it's dog shit, so you can't do this. Right. Yeah. Amir is like the
I don't know, the id, I guess. I don't know.
The super ego. E1 is the id.
Which one is which?
E1 is the id.
Oh, E1. Yes. Yeah. He's the super ego.
Yeah.
Anyway.
E1 is the id because E1 is just the Fast and Furious character that you wrote into your script.
Right. Yes. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that was it. That was the draft. Like I said, streaming, probably other places as well, but on ScreamBox is where we watched it. So, well, I'll remind everyone as well, don't forget, you got but 1 week left to go watch them movies. So we're going to talk about and a couple of them you probably know pretty well. At least one of them, maybe you know Nightmare Before, or maybe you just are a sucker for some Halloween 5. But remember, we're going to do Nightmare Before Christmas. We got to watch Halloween Town Slugs from 1988 and Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. So go watch that unlikely group of films. And again, I urge you, watch them back to back to back to back. Spend call off work. Watch all 4 of those movies consecutively. Just melt your fucking brain and get ready to join us next week as we dip our hands in caramel and then we dip them in peanut M&Ms. Then we dip them in chocolate chips and then we just go buck wild on each other. And you know what's going to happen? Somebody's dick is going to get eaten
in the dirt. Somebody's going to wind up eating their dick in the dirt.
There's one thing I know. So after this party, someone's going to end up eating their own dick in the dirt. All right. Anything else, Steven, before we wrap up this here minisode?
I just wanted to say, as E1 would say, don't tell ghost stories, tell Goku stories.
He does say that. He says Pikachu and Goku. And I was like, Guy, get a little deeper on your anime references. All right. I get you that you're the jock character, but you got to be able to get a little bit deeper. You got to say Naruto. You got to say something. Don't just say Goku and Pikachu.
Well, again, it's 2004 and he's a jock. That's so, so you just got to think like, hey, somebody in Indonesia, even jocks in our 2004 didn't know shit about Pikachu and Goku.
No.
So 2004 jock knowing about Goku and Pikachu, he's actually pretty high-minded.
He might be. Stop defending him. All right. For the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
And I'm the failed writer who's going to find a script 30 years from now.
And I'm Goku. Bye.
Bye.